pas si vous êtes comme moi, les copines, mais j'adore me maquiller les yeux.
There's a lot of good stuff coming out of Paris, which is pretty unusual. DJ Dimitri's got this really cool record out called Sacré Bleu. Then there's another French guy called DJ Cam, then Daft Punk.
I think that right now, you know, in France, not just the dance scene, but you've even got people like Air who are coming through, and they're establishing their own sound, and they're establishing their niche of you know, so French people have now got, you know, big established artists.
If all that comes to mind when you think of Paris is haute couture and cabarets, get ready for a new cutting-edge Parisian export, music. A mixed-genre music scene has erupted off the streets of Paris, fronted by the disco-infused sounds of that duo in disguise, Daft Punk, and the dreamy retro musings of Air, whose debut album Moon Safari is being critically hailed as the best album of 1998 so far.
It's an album about love, you know, and we are fond of music, and we want to share that with everybody. So with this album, we wanted to share to the people the pleasure of the music. We want to give the people some emotions, and there's a kind of music which can help you to dream. And the album is only a sort of little pieces of you know, humor and paradise music to chill out and to relax well.
Fueled by the intense hype of the British press, French music has now come to mainstream attention. But this eclectic mix of artists made much of their success happen themselves by taking proactive measures like creating their own labels and producing music in home studios.
3 or 4 years ago, I had some friends like him. I didn't make music, I was just doing some sounds, and he was there. There was like 3 or 4 people who started doing music, and all those guys, they had friends who were watching at them and say, hey, I can do that too, like me, or like. And after now, there's a scene. Now there's more and more people, and I think it's going to grow up.
I think what happened in the last 2 or 3 years is that there's been more and more producers, especially in Paris, more and more producers and DJs starting to make records. So you've got now Air, Dimitri from Paris.
The French scene basically exploded out of frustration because most of us, you know, DJ Cam, Daft Punk, have been there for quite a few years. And we couldn't find any output for our music in our own country. The companies weren't interested. They thought it was too weird. So we were very frustrated not be able to release our music. And we started putting up our own labels. And these labels started to export the music.
When we started the first label about 3 years ago in France, nobody believed in us. And basically when people were coming up to us and say, what? You're coming from France and you're making records? And people were really, really taking the piss out of us.
In fact, exporting pop music has never been a strength for the French. Aside from the work of Serge Gainsbourg and MC Solar, film and fashion have typically been the extent of the Gallic contribution to pop culture.
France has never been good for rock music. I mean, do you know any French bands? Apart from Serge Gainsbourg and MC Solar, do you know anybody else? No, well, that's it, you know, because I don't think anything big has sort of came out of France.
The new Franco-electronic movement draws its influences from American hip-hop and techno, and from French pioneers like Moog innovator Jean-Jacques Perry and 60s scenester Serge Gainsbourg.
Serge Gainsbourg was the only kind of French artist singer to work with music that wasn't traditionally French. I mean, he recorded rock songs, reggae songs. He worked with renowned producers for his album. He was the only groovy French guy. And he's kind of our godfather, most of the French scene, because, you know, he's the only guy we can look at. Yeah, he's influenced us as a French people.
A key element to the thriving Paris scene is the diversity of its artists. There's the nouveau lounge sounds of Dimitri, the techno gyrations of Laurent Garnier, the crowd-firing samples of Daft Punk, and the originally crafted compositions of Air. And while competition is a reality, the artists remain unified in the spirit of creativity.
DJ Cam is a friend of mine, Daft Punk, Thomas and Emmanuel would bump into each other. So it's a big family. I mean, even we're some kind of competitors, we're also friends, and that's what I like about it.
There's some competition in a good way, which means that, you know, trying to bring new things, but I think right now it's just a worldwide competition, you know, it's like communication between producers all over the world.
When the hype will be gone, I think, you know, we'll be still very considered as global people making music, not French or English or American. This country is really opening up for people like us or people like the Chemical Brothers in England or Daft Punk in France. And that's very refreshing because it means that, you know, also here people are maybe starting to be a little bit bored by just hearing the same thing all over. And there's a need for something new, and we are making something different, and we're happy to be part of that new movement.